I wasn't initially planning to do this video, but you know what, sure. It gives me something quick to put out while I work on larger projects, and it might even help get a couple more eyes on the Kickstarter on the off chance that anyone watching is interested and somehow didn't already know about it. So to summarise, Death Battle's back, they launched a Kickstarter, revealed some matches, got fully funded in 21 minutes, and so now the rest of this is just us trying to reach more of the stretch goals. And more matches are being revealed for the next goal every time the previous one is hit. So I'm going to go over my thoughts on each of them, how excited I am for them, anything I might be hoping for in it, and not who would win, because I am very unsure for almost all of these, and I am not interested enough to seek out any explanations before the episodes drop. So let's start off. Most of these matchups are new information. Tom vs Wile E, meanwhile, is one we already knew about because it won the Tournament of Champions. We have no further updates beyond that it is still happening, which of course it is, why wouldn't it? It just isn't one of the stretch goals, which is not only just fine, it's kind of common sense that they wouldn't put it behind another paywall. Plus, the more new matchups to drum up interest, the better. I'm super stoked for this one. Can't wait to see what wacky cartoon hijinks these two get up to. Scooby vs Courage set a standard that I don't necessarily expect this one to live up to, because that's just setting myself up for disappointment. But the precedent being there for how insane their cartoon fights can get has me confident that this will be a standout when it finally comes around, whether it's in sprites or hand-drawn. The first new match we know about is Bardock vs Omni-Man. The monkey paw curls. I finally got what I said I wanted in that dogshit video from 3 years ago. Is this one of my more anticipated announcements? Not especially, but that doesn't mean I'm not looking forward to it at all. I love Omni-Man, and out of any character from season 7 onwards, he's the only one besides the red vs blue characters that I'm actually on board with getting a run back this soon. Omnilander is one of my favourite episodes of Death Battle, but I can absolutely see there being more places to take a Nolan episode than what they did with him. Give him a proper fight and actually delve into spoiler territory for his analysis. Sure, why not? Let Tom Chalk reprise the role too. He did really well last time, and I'd like to see him get to more aggressively talk shit and insult the Saiyan's pride. Bardock also has me quite excited because he's the first Dragon Ball combatant since Roshi in season 5 where the universe shockwave just outright isn't applicable. That said, if they had a line to the effect of, "He's not shaking universes like his son," I'd honestly have to respect it. But yeah, he's operating on a much lower scale that we haven't really seen covered in a modern Dragon Ball Death Battle, so the stats get to be different. And that's without even mentioning the first ever inclusion of the Great Ape in an episode. And if Super Saiyan is included, it means Bardock will have to unlock it during the fight, which means they have the chance to build it up in a way unlike any previous Saiyan episodes. So this matchup brings in a new perspective for both series on Death Battle, even though it's reusing a character. I'm very much on board. Animation preview looks pretty sick as well, very excited to see Devil Artemis cook. Even if I wasn't interested at all though, if I were to have the mindset of Dragon Ball and a returning combatant, yawn, I would still say this is an excellent choice to open with and get people interested. Invincible's never going to not be relevant for the next decade, and Dragon Ball's never going to not be relevant, period. Plus it's a seemingly close and debatable match, which is especially great for getting discussion going. I will admit though, it got overshadowed pretty quickly for me. When I watched the trailer, my reaction was very much, okay, not something I'm fawning over, but this is a good choice. Animation looks good. Wait, why did they say they've come to make an announcement? That doesn't sound like something either of them would— oh, holy shit! Yeah, Bowser vs Eggman is without question the reveal to get me the most excited, by far. This is a match I used to find boring in the season 7 days before Nem managed to talk me into liking it, and then the more that I've thought about it over the last 4 years, the more and more I've wanted to see it. Beyond it giving us the chance to have a modern Mario vs Sonic episode, these are my favourite characters from their respective series, with Bowser in particular being one of my favourite characters ever and among my top 10 favourite combatants the show has ever used, if not top 5. He's not deep at all, but I love his design, and I love villains that can be goofy or intimidating whenever they need to be at the drop of a hat. And Bowser works very well in both contexts. I really hope the episode gets to reflect that. Deep down, as much as I didn't want to admit it, I always knew that my hope for an army fight was a little unrealistic, but Death Battle's proving otherwise. Not only did they show that they're going all in with that, but it's going to be entirely hand-drawn by Morrow, and they're giving them everything, like including entire other characters like King Boo, Metal Sonic, and others who could feasibly be given their own dedicated analysis. And everything looks so damn good, and they had a Hotel Mario reference, and holy shit, this is gonna be amazing. And this was DJ's big passion project? Yeah, alright, Sauron vs Lich King, count your days, because this looks like it's more than likely gonna be a new addition to my top 10. I don't want to set any unrealistic expectations, but I'm so excited. More than I am for everything else here combined. My reviews of individual episodes from here on out are gonna be on the basis of, I mean, I'll do one if I have the time and enough to say about it, but I'm not dropping other projects to force myself to make a review. This is the exception. I will be there no matter what. Light vs. Columbo got confirmed as a separate thing from the proper episode lineup that won't count towards the numbering. Kinda like Excalibur vs. Raiden in the one with the Yummers guy. That is a concept my brain inherently rejects for some reason. Not sure why, I just don't like it. Let it be part of the lineup, cowards. Either way, this is one of Liam's passion projects, so I'm confident it will be great if Dio Card and Chosen Born are anything to go off. Very interested to see how this will play out. It's been mentioned before that they want to do it like an audio drama, which sounds pretty interesting. It also shuts down Light vs. Walter, whose most vocal supporters have definitely seen Breaking Bad and are not just in it for the memes. I'm sure they will take this incredibly well. All this excitement is followed on from with Kratos vs. Asura. As much as I don't care about this match, I am kinda glad it's happening just so that it can't storm its way through a third poll in a row. And I'm not against it happening because beyond the slight weirdness of Kratos not matching Asura in visual scale, the stats aside since I'm totally wins through the goated God of War lore, there's not much reason for me to oppose this episode or anything. I just don't especially care. I want to get into Kratos series, I'm sure it's good, but I've never owned a PlayStation, so that's not really in the cards right now. I could also say that since I don't like Asura's Wrath as a game, I don't have any reason to be interested in it being brought into Death Battle, but the thing is, Asura's Wrath on Death Battle brings everything about the series I actually do like. The chance to discuss the story of a character I do genuinely enjoy and the cool visual spectacle of it all, but without subjugating me to the gameplay loop again, which is the one thing that kills the game for me. Seriously, I can't stress enough how much more I would enjoy Asura's Wrath if it was like a movie or something. I like pretty much everything about it besides the defining part of the medium it's in, which I find to be super monotonous and boring. In a death battle though, we get all of the benefits with none of the downsides. So sure, I'm looking forward to seeing him tear some shit up. Kick his ass, Asura. I mean, you probably won't, but I'm rooting for you anyway. Animation preview looks neat as well. I have faith that this won't be another Omnilander situation where the extended preview eats into the fight time. That worked there because it was a more character-driven fight that played into it being a stomp. Can't imagine the same would be true for a more played straight brawl where people are in it for the spectacle. They also confirmed that an older episode will get a rematch and that it will be up to the fans to vote on it. If they back the Kickstarter, that is. So, you know, go support it so you can have a chance to vote. The three options they showed to get people's attention are Ben vs. Hal, Yang vs. Tifa, and Master Chief vs. Doom Guy. But the options won't be restricted to just them. And thank God, because Chief Doom is the only one of those three I think even remotely warrants it. Let Tifa get a better opponent rather than redoing this solely to spite Yang. I do not think a rematch should be done for the express purpose of correcting a controversial verdict. And Ben vs. Hal 2 would only appeal to people who were never going to hear at the Kickstarter to begin with. Plus, it's a good episode already that just ends kinda shit. See my before comment about not redoing an episode just for the verdict change. Could they make it better nowadays? Oh, without a doubt, yeah. Do I want to see that? Not even a little. What would I want to see in this spot then? Well, if I was to be unironic, I would say Chief vs. Doom Guy since it could use a 3D glow up assuming neither of them have any better opponents, Terminator vs. Robocop to remaster the first Torrian episode with more modern resources, or Tracer vs. Scout, not because I think the winner necessarily needs to change, but because it would be nice if the episode could be released without the ultimatum of this needs to be bad otherwise Torrian will literally work himself to death. Those are the only three I even have a passing interest in. Rematches in general just don't interest me as much. So, which one am I voting for? None of them. Fulgor vs. Sector 2 sweep, let's go. I mean it with full sincerity that this is the rematch I want the most by a wide margin. Not because I think it's a big enough match to warrant updating it, but because I would find it really, really funny. It is such a specific, uneventful episode that has made absolutely zero impact on the show, and because of that, it's been a dispensary of so many memes in my friend group. If we didn't have that preview to go off, I would legitimately be more excited for Fulgor vs. Sector 2 than Bowser vs. Eggman. And if it wins the poll, I will genuinely laugh so hard that it will probably make me cry. If you don't have any stakes in the rematch race, vote for Fulgor vs. Sector with me. We need to bring this masterpiece into the modern day. Mahito vs. Shigaraki is a weird case for me. I've seen one season of Jujutsu Kaisen and 4 seasons of Hiroaka. I like both shows. I do not care for Shigaraki. And I had to be reminded of who Mahito even was because I've only been able to commit like half a dozen Jujutsu Kaisen characters' names to memory. When I first heard it, I thought for a second, wait, why is the hands guy fighting the protagonist of The Boy and the Heron? That's not because I don't like him. One of my favorite characters in Jujutsu Kaisen is the Fractions guy, and for the life of me, I could not tell you what his name is without googling it. Mahito is neat enough, and the pairing makes enough sense. Touch things and they decay versus touch souls and mold them like clay. Could get visually creative, I'm sure it'll pull views. I'm mildly interested in it, but I can't say I'm super excited or anything. To my surprise, they outright revealed what episode 200 would be rather than one of the ones surrounding it. But given that the milestone is Ash vs Yugi, I'm very glad that my friends are getting to experience that excitement for longer. I can't say I'm all that attached to Yugi's end of things. I'd never really got into the Yu-Gi-Oh craze. Get little Karibo to voice him if he's around because funny abridged series that I haven't seen, otherwise I have no input there. But I am stoked to see Ash get covered. I haven't kept up with it for the last decade or so, but I think I've seen more episodes of the Pokemon anime than any other show periods. Just about all of the stretch from Hoenn to Unova, with more than my fair share of Kanto, Johto and Kalos stuff as well, spanning hundreds of episodes across my childhoods. Getting to see all these Pokemon that I got attached to with specific characters rather than just cool designs show up is going to be really special, especially if they bring my boy Weasel into the fight. Genuinely a top 5 Pokemon for me, love that guy. As far as I know, Ash is going to lose, but if they're able to make something even half as hectic and busy as Bowser vs Eggman looks like it will be, I think we could have a highlight of the year on our hands. I know that Origin really wanted to work on this one, so I'm sure that he and the rest of the Sprite team will cook up a really cool passion project to mark the milestone. One that the people I know are more lukewarm on is Kyle Raymond vs Simone from Tengatop and Gurren Chipwrecked. I have no personal stakes in the characters, I don't read comics and I haven't seen TTGL, although I really want to since I hear it's great and Trigger hasn't missed yet from what I've seen. But as for this matchup, I know it has its origins as a spite match where people really wanted a DC Herald to lose to a non-Marvel character. Does Simone win? No clue. Do I care? Not really. As long as the battle gets to be hype as fucking high in scale, I'll be satisfied. My one hope that I don't know if it's even feasible is for them to use, or at the very least remix part of Will of the Drill. I don't actively keep up with most of the fan commission music tracks, but I still find myself going back to that one fairly often. It's so damn good. I normally need to have a memory or other association with a song for me to want to revisit it super often, but Will of the Drill is so good that if it were an official death battle track, even without the episode to imagine alongside it, it's still an easy pick for the top 10. I don't know if they can use it because of legal reasons that I don't understand, but I am hoping and praying that they can. Seems like we're getting a bunch of the big requests out of the way in a row, because arguably the biggest and most important one out of all of these is Ruby vs Maka. Again, no personal stakes. Ruby is a show I enjoy well enough, but don't really care all that much about, and I have not seen Soul Eater even though I would like to. But this is, as far as I can think of, the last loose end match. Colt vs Alex and Galactus vs Unicorn were in a similar position until last year, and now we have all three since Ruby vs Maka has hit its stretch goal. It's kind of surreal to think about that we're finally going to be getting the match they promised Monty Olam all those years ago, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it turns out. Especially since that because they're no longer with Rooster Teeth, we're not going to get as many chucklefucks doom posting about it being rigged. Plus Scythe combat is very new territory, so I'm interested to see how they go about it. And both series have pretty poor track records on the show as is, so I really hope this gives them something great. And the final specific matchup revealed so far is Aang vs Aether. Never have I been so happy to see something where my immediate reaction was, oh no. And to be absolutely clear, that's not me saying that the matchup is bad. It's me saying that revealing it as a stretch goal matchup is putting way too much trust in the community to not be annoying about it. I haven't been around to see it, but from what I've been told, most of my expectations were fully met. You're especially setting it up for backlash following so many near unanimously beloved favourites in the community. Surely you could have had a safer bet with something like Joker vs Giorno or Groove vs Megamind. But if you're expecting me to add to the backlash, you will be sorely disappointed because it is one of the reveals that I am the most excited for. Obviously there's the chance for Aang and Atla to get a good episode this time. Taking season 1 out of the equation, I can count on one hand the amount of episodes I like less than Aang vs Eds. Shadow vs Mewtwo, Venom vs Bane, just those two things. So I welcome the chance for him to get his redemption arc, and for Avatar to have more than one good episode to its name while the rest is not that. I'm sure they'll have learned from the very vocal criticisms that episode got though. I'm very confident that they'll do Aang better this time, and that's cool. I always forget how much I like Aang, and that his show is one of my favourite cartoons ever. And on Aether's side, I've actually played the first 3 regions of Genshin Impact. It's been over 2 years since I put any real time into the game, but I had a good bit of fun with it. I'm not a die-hard fan, but plenty of my friends are, so of course I'm happy getting to see them happy. Shout out to Brandon by the way for making the thumbnail, thank you Brandon. Also, they could show Chong Yun on screen, which would make this my favourite episode of the year by default. And if you're not happy because you don't like Genshin, that is valid as long as you're not annoying about it. And if anyone's obnoxious about it in the comments, I'll just... Why did I not finish typing this sentence before I typed out the rest of the script? What? I'm assuming I was going to say I would delete any comments being annoying, which is true. I must have gotten distracted before I could finish typing that. I have no idea what to expect with this one. I could see 3D or hand-on working, but I struggle to see them going with sprites again for Aang. As long as they do creative stuff with the elemental attacks and get Aang's character better than before, I'm good with whatever really. Then hopefully they can do more Hoyoverse fights. Get Samus vs Firefly up in here, that sounds fun. Also, it would make my friends happy again, so, you know, more reason to want it. Hi, this is editing me. If you couldn't tell, I recorded the rest of this like a week ago, and last night they changed the next stretch goal, so I'm not scripting anything for this is just off the cuff, but they replaced Aang vs. Traveler with Hulk vs. Godzilla, my least favourite match from the Tournament of Champions. I was kind of annoyed, but then I looked and saw, wait, no, it didn't replace Aang vs. Traveler. It replaced the documentary, and Aang vs. Traveler got moved down to a lower stretch goal, so we already got it now. So me and my friends all got to be excited over the match that we wanted getting locked in. And like, I could say how I just do not care about Hulk vs. Godzilla in the slightest. Like, I hold it in barely higher regard than Gogeta vs. Vegito. But you know what? This match was a hero, and I just couldn't see it. It took the bullet of being the stretch goal we might not reach, and allowed for Aang vs. Traveler to be confirmed instead. So you know what? I think we can put aside our differences. Consider us on good terms, Hulk vs. Godzilla. Also, I could be really excited for this one if they do the MCU and MonsterVerse versions, but I know they're not gonna. So if you're excited for this one, good for you. I just really don't care. If the stretch goal gets reached, which it currently hasn't, this will be my least favourite of the confirmed matchups by a country mile. Okay, back to the scripted stuff. Okay, no, I was wrong again, actually. Hi, me from the next day here. So I recorded that segment last night, and then I went to bed, and then while I was asleep, they revealed Gru vs. Megamind. So all of that goodwill I said I had towards Hulk vs. Godzilla, no, that's all gone, because I would greatly prefer Gru vs. Megamind to Hulk vs. Godzilla, but I think we have a lot higher chance of reaching the Hulk Godzilla stretch goal than the Gru Megamind one. Raising another 140,000 in the next less than 2 weeks does not sound as feasible as just 40,000, which is still a lot and not guaranteed, but it is much more likely. Am I going to be heartbroken if we don't get Gru vs. Megamind? No, not really. I mean, look at the mountains of gold that the rest of the stretch goals have provided us. Gru vs. Megamind would be my most anticipated out of all of these, but I feel like I don't have any right to be disappointed with this lineup. Even if we do reach the goal for Hulk vs. Godzilla, that's one match that I really don't like next to 8 that I'm really excited for. I think that's a more than fair trade. And if we do reach Gru vs. Megamind, then I'll be very excited. I hope they get to do a lot of fun stuff with their various gadgets and their armies and all that. Basically like a lower scale 3D Bowser vs. Eggman. Okay, now we can get back to the scripted stuff. Well, unless they reveal another stretch goal that I have to record for last second. But given how unlikely it is for us to reach that, please don't. And that's all in the way of specific matches for now. Oh, but look at this, there's 3 more confirmations for specific styles an episode will be done in. Luis is going to hand draw one, Ismahawk will do another live action one, and they're even going to bring back the man, the myth, the legend himself, Torrian, for another 3D episodes. I'm very excited to see where all of these go. The 2 that Luis has hand drawn already are both in my all-time top 10, so he has all the room in the world to cook with this next one. We don't know what it's going to be yet, but he did ask for pictures on Twitter, so if I'm to show one of my own most wanted, Henry Stickmin versus the Second Coming from Animator vs. Animation would fit his style perfectly. Their designs being super simplistic means you can get to focus more on drawing in their arsenals, which opens this one up to being real crazy. Or hell, do Among Us vs. Fall Guys. That has potential to go down as an all-timer, and I would find that very funny. Or do a more actiony Bendy vs. Cuphead that would help set it apart from the DBX. For live action, I don't have many I especially want. I guess Captain Kirk vs. Solo, a Star Wars story would be my choice, since it would give us a new approach to a Star Wars episode, and it's among some of my friends' most wanted. And if they reference that old Q&A, that would make me especially happy. What I really don't want is another Marvel vs. DC. And that's not because of general fatigue with the series, it's because the live action episodes have years between them, so to have them all do the same general thing would just feel kinda stale. Nightwing vs. Daredevil, while not an episode I like, was a good way to test the waters and see what works. Then Winter Soldier vs. Red Hood perfected pretty much everything except the death. They've done everything I'm interested in seeing from a live-action capeshit street tier death battle. Could they make a good episode out of Moon Knight vs. Azrael, or God forbid Batman Round 5? Oh, I don't doubt it for a second. But at the same time, fucking honk shoe, dude, the announcement would put me to sleep on the spot. Not the end of the world if it's what they want to do, since the Ismahawk team is very clearly passionate. I just hope they get to branch out and do something a bit different. And for Torrian coming back, the first thing he gets offered should be Ruby vs. Maka, especially if the episode ends up being presented like a tribute to Monty. If not, then I'd hope he gets to be part of the rematch episode if the matchup ends up being one he worked on back in the day. Really though, he should be allowed to make whatever he's most passionate about, because he will cook either way. Can't wait to see what he does, and for Chad to bring up the Gimli quiz again if he gets to appear on the cast. Alright, there we go, that's all the stretch goals we currently know about. What an all-star lineup, dudes. They really came out swinging with some of the biggest yet to be done community requests. It's like they looked at Season 5's mission statement of bringing out the most popular requests and getting around to stuff that's long overdue, except this time I'm actually really excited for most of these rather than just unenthusiastically saying, yeah, okay, that makes sense, good choice. I'm sure a lot of these will end up being great, leading to one of Death Battle's best years. And yeah, years, not seasons. Ben said that they're not doing the seasonal categorizing the same way anymore, at least for the time being, so I guess I'm doing annual rankings rather than season rankings from this point onwards, which will be very funny if we end up getting like 3 episodes across the last stretch of 2024. And that should about do it for this one. I hope you enjoyed, and also go donate to the Kickstarter if you're interested in any of the rewards that they're offering. Now hopefully I'll have the time to stockpile the 3 other videos that I'm working on before I get to the 45-minute movie ranking I'm chipping away at in the background. Then I'll get to the Death Battle music track ranking before the show starts back up again, hopefully. Look forward to those when they come out. Alright, see you later.
Everyone's favorite Biff Weed.